In this video, we're going to talk about what the steps are in a foreclosure process. And by the time we get done on this, you're going to know more than you ever thought you needed to or what have you. But I want to go through the steps on this. I think this is kind of interesting personally because first of all, there are many, did I say the word many? Opportunities to bail something out of foreclosure. But it all comes down to, is the borrower willing to communicate with the lender? That at the end of the day, that's what it comes down to. But there are so many different ways to help the borrower out and make some money. I mean, both people can win in this. I think it needs to be understood to make it happen. So let's go through this. You're going to love this. I've got a little gift for you for sticking around at the very end. So stick around to the very end. I really want to go through this and go through the process. Foreclosure, can be a daunting task, and let's just talk about this. For the borrower, they're losing the property, and so this can be a little overwhelming. So one of the first things they should be doing is finding out what they need to do to protect the property from going into real big default, and usually that's the last thing they do. So first of all, there are two different types of foreclosures. There's a judicial foreclosure and a non-judicial foreclosure. A judicial foreclosure sale occurs through the court system, requiring the lender to file a lawsuit, and that provides a borrower to do this. And a non-judicial foreclosure, basically, they say, hey, I'm going to give up the property. You don't need to go through the courts. I'll sign off everything on there, which is, if you're not going to make the payments on it, that's exactly the way you want to make it, because it actually can protect your credit on this. The general foreclosure process in a judicial foreclosure is a timeline of this. Once a property owner has been delinquent for 30 to 90 days, at that point, after the 30th or 90th day, depending on how the lender really has it set up, that's when they can go ahead and file what's called an NOD, or a notice of default. So typically, this is 90 days plus. Again, it depends on the state and the county issue. This is a formal letter that informs the borrower, look, you're in default and we're going to start taking some action. But this also sets into trigger another opportunity for you to communicate with the borrower, or them to communicate, or you to communicate with the borrower, the borrower to communicate with you. What that says is, hey, we're going to go ahead and foreclose on this if somebody doesn't do something for 90 days. Okay, so in other words, unless we have a loan modification, this thing's going to foreclosure. Unless we're doing a short sale, whatever, what is it that you want to do? They want to get you back on their feet because they don't want you to lose the property, believe it or not. If that doesn't happen and there's still time remaining, then they're going to file what is called a less pendants or complaint. This basically what this is saying is you haven't responded to the NOD, or we haven't been able to come up with a solution on this, and we're going to go ahead and start the judicial foreclosure process and put it on public record. So again, now this files and takes another 120 to 180 days from the first missed payment. So now we're into 90 days, 4 months, and into the fifth and sixth month on that. This gives the borrower a bunch of notice that this is going to foreclosure. So again, here's more opportunities for the borrower to work with the lender on this to make sure it happens. Once that is served, though, the foreclosure complaint on this, it usually responds to it going to foreclosure in about 20 to 30 days, which means they're going to bring it up for sale. There's a court hearing. They may demand a mediation, depending on the state, that's saying, hey, one more opportunity for you guys to go on over there and talk about this and see if you can't make this happen. And then they're going to say, okay, judgment of foreclosure and sale of the property. So now they're going to issue this thing. It needs to go to sale. The judge will make legal permits to sell this at an auction, and it goes from there. There's some states out there that can get done in 4 months. It just hasn't been that way for a long time. So just call it 6 to 9 months, depending on the speed of it. The nice thing about this is there is multiple ways of stopping a foreclosure if that happens. So let's talk about tax liens and tax deeds in my world. when that happens. Understand, when I buy a tax lien certificate and I go to foreclose on the property, a lot of this stuff has already been done. They've already been delinquent on the property taxes for quite some time. So what I'm doing is there's a notice of default. At that point, they may have 60 days, maybe 90, to come in and satisfy the delinquent taxes plus the penalties on that. If they don't, it's foreclosed on. This property, with a mortgage, you're looking at 6 months. With a tax lien certificate, remember, we may have bought that tax lien certificate 2 or 3 years ago. They've kind of had plenty of notification. That's why it's kind of accelerated within that point. If I'm going to a tax deed sale, again, they've still been delinquent for a minimum of 4 years. They've sent out the NODs. They've sent out the notice of defaults. They've indicated that it's going to sale. This person's got one choice and one choice only. They've got to pay the back taxes to the county before it goes to the foreclosure sale. When it goes to the foreclosure sale, all the way up until I put my hand up, they can come in and redeem. In fact, I could put my hand up, they could say sold. If I haven't given the money to the county and they slip in front of me, kind of unusual, but it's still there. So they have, literally 5 years of opportunities to bring that up. And I think that's important to understand, because I get so many people that say, but aren't you just taking people's property that are in a bad way? Not at all. Okay, I'm taking somebody's property that hasn't paid for 4 and 5 years. This isn't like some mortgage foreclosure. These things go for necessities such as schools, roads, bridges, fire department, police department, hospitals, and the list goes on, what the county is going to need that money for. So it's super important that stuff is paid, regardless of whether it's from the property owner or not. Everybody else is doing it. It's not fair if somebody just given a free ride forever. And a lot of people aren't aware of how many years you can not pay your property taxes without any consequence at all. Literally, it goes up to 5 years, or 4 to 5 years, 4 being the minimum, 5, 6, 7 years in some places, before any kind of property is taken. Whether you're buying a tax lien certificate, understand the procedures I just talked about. I gave you some pretty broad brushstrokes of how that happened. They're kind of the same all over the place. When those are notified, how long they have to respond, what kind of negotiating, that depends on the state and then the county on how they want to interpret that. So keep that in mind. But you need to know how long it's going to take, how much money it's going to cost, and any extra fees that might pop in there. Should it be court hearings? How long they're delayed? Are they backed up? How busy it is? All that good stuff. It just gives you an indication. Either I get 18% or I get a property freeingler. I'm kind of okay. With a tax deed, remember, you're getting the property at the tax deed. They've already gone through all of this stuff. And what they're doing is now saying, we've sent out the notification. They've done all this stuff. At Wednesday of next week or Tuesday in the morning, we're selling that property. And if you don't come in, it's theirs. My only responsibility is give the money to the county, and now I need to hire somebody to clean off any residue on that deed that is left over from old mortgages that got wiped out. It basically frees up the title. So now I have an executable title or a sellable and insurable title from there. Those are some of the things you want to look at. Look, you got to be careful. You got to know what you're doing. I've got a brand new course on this that I just put together that shows you how to make money while you're doing this. Lots of money. Okay, just hit the link down below, taxlienmethod.online. Just go to that deal on there. I'll send you a booklet on this for free. Okay, just fill out the information. Taxlienmethod.online. Click the link down in the descriptions. Complimentary to me. I put a really interesting book on this one, I think it is. And it's my gift to you for watching all the way to the end. This is Saen Higgins saying good luck and God bless. We'll see you out there.